There we go. Now that should be right. There we go. Move this. Get the mic over here. Move my paper. Actually, mic has to go here. As far as I can tell, everything is set up. And we'll see how this starts going as we get it. Let's set the live. There we go. There's the chat. That's up and moving. Let's get our first poll set up. So that shouldn't be an issue. All right. So if we're starting at the back, moving forward, we have Playmates up on the mark. Then we have Star Wars Black Series. Moving further from that, we have Marvel Legends. And then going on from there, we have G.I. Joe Classified. And that starts us out. Bam. That'll start us. Don't think I need that. Okay. And that's set. Oh, okay. Got that running. Hey, what's going on? I need to fix this. That's weird. Why is it doing that? There. Now that's down there. All the chat seems to be running. That's going fine. And let me look real quick to check on... Okay. In terms of channel update, there's not much. I'm still editing all these into chapters. You know that I got pretty far behind, like 2 months behind, to be fair. But as you noticed, the videos are starting to come out, so the chapters are starting to hit. And actually, I've got to start figuring out, in terms of that, I'm doing a lot of the editing. And as I'm doing it, I'm coming across a bit of an issue. And I don't know if I'm going to either just keep doing what I'm doing. Every now and then I answer a question. And the answer is only like maybe 2 minutes at max. And I don't have anything to do with it. So that's too short to really post. Maybe I could make it into a short. But then I don't know how that would read. I don't know. Right now I've been skipping them. If the question that I answered just doesn't have enough oomph by itself to actually make into a video, if it hits about 4, 5, 6 minutes, I've turned it into a chapter. Just to say, hey, we have talked about this. I did give an answer. My answer might change as we go forward, but this is where I am right now. We'll figure out as we go on. I don't know what I'm doing with them yet. If you would like me to guarantee that those smaller questions sometimes just become shorts and at least have something in the history of the channel that, hey, we talked about this, we did this, whatever, I'll figure it out. Oh, what's going on, man? And still among the living, because fun times at the ER tonight. Sorry to hear that, man. Absolutely sorry to hear that. I legit hope everything is going well, and I have a feeling I know what that's about. But yeah, man, hopefully that pans out. Absolutely. Currently, and we're just getting started. We're just coming in here. We got 3 people hanging out, as far as I can tell, and we've got 3 votes. And strangely enough, which I did not expect at all, Star Trek is winning. Right now we're only 2 minutes in, so we're going to give it a little bit of time, at least 5-7 minutes, somewhere in there, before we call it, because people might, find the stream, hop in and give us an idea. But yes, in news, we'll call it figure news or whatever you want to call it, I saw that Epic Hacks is releasing something new in the 1/12. And if it wasn't... So here's the thing. I only have so much money. like we all, right? We only have what we have. And I have too much on pre-order right now, to the point where there's something hitting every month, like 2-3 items hitting a month. That's too much right now, especially where I happen to be in terms of my money. So I'm kind of pulling back, and because of that, I'm leaving a lot of things to chance. Hey, that's the nature of the game. We can't collect everything. It's simply not a thing. We don't have the money to do it. So I'm starting to make some decisions. And today was one of them. I saw that in the 1/12 scale, Epic Hacks is releasing a Frankenstein's monster. I thought that was very cool. Like, I was instantly excited about it. Because, like, if that fits the same scale as my Conan the Barbarian that I've currently got coming, my Bayleet that I've currently got coming, my Red Sonja that's already on the shelf over there, that's really cool. But, realistically, I don't know what kind of money I have by the time we get there. I hope it doesn't sell out and it cuts me out and I never get it. Who knows? It's very possible. But I did have to pass on it today in terms of the pre-order, and we'll see how that turns out. Maybe the pre-order is still up here in a month and things have kind of evened out and I figured out where my budget is and I'll make that decision. But for right now, yeah. But it would be really cool to have a more book-accurate Frankenstein's monster. I think that would be very, very cool. Let's see. Something I wanted to touch on about that wasn't discussed, but is anyone even hyped for the SH Figuarts Wolverine? I don't know. So here's the thing. Once you start putting your eggs in a basket, it gets a little tough to jump from line to line to line. I actually think this is a big part of collecting and why we tend to pick something and stick with it. And it's not just like, you could call it loyalty, but here, look, I'll explain it this way. Right now, I've got all this Street Fighter invested in Jada. And then Storm Arena comes out. And Storm Arena's like, hey, here we are. We got all this Street Fighter. But I'm like, I've already got it. And the chance of me jumping into another line to get more Street Fighter of the same Street Fighter, for the most part, I know that they're focusing on alpha. But like, I've already put so much into that Street Fighter that it's very hard for me to jump into another style and, like, go with them. And it would make me feel like I was almost double dipping at a point. You could argue this is not the same thing. And you wouldn't necessarily be wrong for that. You know what I mean? You really wouldn't. But it does cross my mind, like, how that works out. Like, I also put into the Jada Mega Man line, and they're releasing consistent, and that's kind of where I am. And there are other Mega Man figures. But should I? Because there's like a really cool Mega Man. But I've got a Mega Man. Soon I'll have 2 Mega Man. And I've already got multiple Robot Masters. And I'm already kind of building inside a very specific scale. And, like, I don't need everything. And if I buy this other random Mega Man, he does kind of look better in some ways. But then he's also bigger. And then, like, it does kind of put down to stuff like that. Now, SH Figuarts is releasing, and they're kind of laying down the hammer here. Because they just did a really solid Cyclops. I'm happy with my Cyclops, and even though everybody's very, very excited about the new one, I did not jump in. I said, I've kind of got what I want. I've got a very solid 80s Cyclops, and I've got a very, very good 90s Cyclops. And at the cost that they ran me, I don't think I really need to upgrade into a higher price bracket and then kind of get myself into this. So I didn't jump in, But one could argue that it would not, I mean, it won't wreck your display if, say, you don't have a Gambit and you get a Mafex solid Gambit. Like, that's a very solid Gambit. And then that's the one you have. I think it's complicated, in all honesty. Jumping line to line to line, especially when all these different lines are doing the same things. Because now I find myself, I'm looking at some of the designs for the Storm Arena, because we just talked about Street Fighter, so I think this is relevant. I saw the Street Fighter Chun-Li Jada, Team Chun-Li, Alpha Chun-Li. And I said, okay, that's really good. That does look like the original character art for the game. But then I saw Storm Arena's Chun-Li, Alpha Chun-Li. And I'm like, I like that too. Like, I like both of them quite a bit. I almost prefer the Storm Arena, even though I know accurately, like the original picking screen, the Jada face looks like the picking screen from the original release that I played. So, like, I think it is complicated. And I think it's hard to lock down exactly, you know what I mean? I don't know. I was thinking about it a lot the last couple days, because there's so many lines doing the same things. And now they got this Wolverine out. And, like, do I really need another Wolverine? And from another line that will get another kind of, like, scale and another level of articulation that then, will that be what I want? It's hard to say. Because, like, Storm Arena is one of those things that I'm really looking at. But I don't see that Storm Arena has released anything necessarily yet that has made me jump on board and say, okay, I'm replacing the Street Fighter figures. Because I'm not. I'm very, very happy with Jada's Street Fighter line. And I don't necessarily need an Alpha Ryu to replace the Ryu that's already on my... I just don't need it. It doesn't... But at the same time, I don't know. Like, there are parts of it, I think it's going to get a little complicated, because I'm going to start looking at these two releases, especially with them both jumping into Alpha. Now if Storm Arena's doing Alpha and Jada's doing some Alpha, what do I go to? Which one feels like it matches my display and my interest? Because while I would argue that the Storm Arena Chun-Li looks better in different aspects, the Jada Chun-Li looks true to the original picking screen. I think it's tough. I think it's something that all of us are really dealing with right now. And that's something to really think about with things like DC coming up. We've bought all this DC, and now we're going to start again. And this is something that I've dealt with for a very long time inside of toys, specifically with DC. It seems like every decade, we toss away all the DC that we've been collecting and get a whole new line. And we've done it over and over and over again. Now, a lot of lines I don't do this with. I'll admit, I'm still collecting Playmates Star Trek. I like the Playmates Star Trek, and I don't plan to go anywhere from it. Even the remastered Playmates Star Trek didn't do anything for me. And the 1/12 Star Trek, while very cool, I don't necessarily know that I want to jump into a whole other Star Trek line. That's a lot of money. A lot of money. But it's very good figures, so it's tough to say. I like where I am with my Ninja Turtles. I really do. There's very few things that come out turtle-wise that make me go, absolutely, I'm going to jump all the way back into Turtles. I've kind of got that where I want it to be. And then Marvel Legends. We've put so much time and effort into Marvel Legends. That's not saying when new figures from a new company or whatever, or somebody else gives us something else that we shouldn't consider it. But I do think there's something to be said for that kind of stuff. It's kind of like if you jump into the Masterverse line and then say you end up liking Masterverse more than you like Classics. What do you do with all those classic figures? Now, you could be one of those guys that just holds on to everything forever, but I'm not. So that very much changes the way that we're arguing here. Because for me, and we've had this conversation with Captain America multiple times, I want 1, 2, maybe 3 at the most perfect Captain Americas on my shelf. And they all have to mean something specifically to me or they gotta go. It's tough. I think it's a complicated, interesting subject. And I don't think there's a right answer. Don't misunderstand me. That's one of the things that I love about collecting and I love about figures in general. Figures are an absolute window to fandom. As you've seen, every time we come in here and every time we talk about this stuff, I talk about why I give a crap about figures. I talk about my personal experiences, things from my past, things that I feel. Because to me, that's what a lot of this is. And I think that very much changes the aspect. That's what makes me love it. And as in that idea, these are personal collections. This is a museum to me. My collection doesn't have to live up to your expectations, nor should yours live up to mine, because your collection doesn't represent me. It represents you. Some people collect everything because they have to have it. Some people very much pick and choose. And like me, I cherry pick everything. But that also leads me into my own kind of problem. Like I said, multiple lines with multiple aspects. Where do you go? I think it's an interesting idea. And so there's a lot of interesting argument to be had about, like where you should invest. Should you just always upgrade to the best possible figure, but then won't your guys always be like, this guy's kind of small, why this guy's taller than he should be, why this guy's that? And I don't know. I think it's an interesting debate. I really do. I think it's an interesting topic overall for collecting. This really is a topic that literally affects all of us. And this Wolverine is at the heart of it. If you are a Marvel Legends collector, and you've already got the last 3 Wolverine figures, which are very solid. The last 4, if you want. No. The last 5 have been really good. Do you jump again to another Wolverine? Maybe you're a hardcore Wolverine collector. Maybe that makes a lot of sense for you. Maybe it doesn't for me. It's an interesting subject. And I think it literally affects all of us and has a different answer for all of us. I do. Investing in your channel towards that epic hack Frankenstein. Well, thank you so much. That I did not expect. Thank you so much. Well, that may have made my decision. I love the idea of an epic hack Frankenstein monster. Like, it's so cool. Because to me, I'm looking at him and I'm like, that might be more book accurate. That might be really cool. And that excites me because I've read that book like 10 different times. I love the book. I really do. Not that I haven't loved watching a lot of the movies and projects and whatnot, but I really, really loved that book. And I've always noticed that they've never quite got it right. You know what I mean? Then again, you could argue that the book specifically keeps his look a little more ambiguous. So, it explains small features and gives you an idea, but it's really left a lot up to here. So maybe that's why they can never get it perfect. You know what I mean? There's never that moment where you go, oh, this is exactly right. They did so much, By the way, Star Trek 1, so we will lay out the next thing here, and then we'll go on and keep discussing. But yeah, let's see. I have... I probably spelled that wrong, but whatever. And who else do I have sitting down here? Oh, you know what? There. All right, let's go up here. Yeah. I get it, man. And they'll troubleshoot over and over and over again. Hopefully when they get an answer, it's something that they can work with. I'm wishing you all the best. I really am, man. That sucks. Hey, what's going on, man? Okay, let's see. Remember Black Friday and Christmas, buddy. I'll keep my eyes open in terms of Black Friday and stuff like that. I have no idea what's going to hit, how well it's going to hit, you know what I mean? Like, I've had multiple Black Fridays where I find absolutely nothing that I care about, like nothing. But then I have had a couple of them back to back where I've bought a bunch of movie sets and things like that because they just really knock them out of the park. So it's always the flip of a coin for Black Friday with stuff like that with me. Also made a villain character in case I can't get a controller so I can make sure I know some of the more advanced features. Okay, cool. He's talking about we've been playing some online games and whatnot, trying to get the group back together and get things going back up again. Did I see the Netflix Frankenstein? No. I've put it on my watch list, though. I like Frankenstein's stuff in general. Most of the time, Frankenstein movies and series and things like that catch my attention, and I'm always willing to kind of take a new interpretation. Not that I love all of them equally, that's for sure, but like I'm always interested to see other people's and other series takes on Frankenstein in general. The monster. Saw that Wolverine, but I pre-ordered the HS Figuarts Kaiju number 8 figure. I saw that. Mega Man animated series is on Blu-ray, which looks cool. I don't know what to think about it. Like, is that a series that I would go back to? Who am I kidding? Probably. I watch a lot of those old cartoons, and I just gotta kind of keep my mindset in the correct spot, when I do it, because I don't want to... It's easy to watch something from your childhood and then take it as an adult and be like, this show is crap. And it's, you know what I mean? You gotta kind of look for stuff like that. You got to be in the right mindset sometimes when you go to jump into a past show, because the last time I tried to watch like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I was not in the right mindset, and I tried to watch the 80s series and like I couldn't get past episode 5. I couldn't do it. Like, it was just boring the crap out of me. But I also just watched the entire original animated series of Conan. And I'll admit, towards the end, it was starting to drag on me. But if you go in with the right attitude to these old shows, they're really solid. And I would probably get a kick out of all the stuff I don't remember about that old Mega Man series. All the things they got right, the things they interpreted, the things they got wrong, the just off-the-wall ridiculousness of the animated series. I think I would have a good time with it. To what extent, I have no idea. And it's probably not that expensive. I mean, I wouldn't imagine that it would be. Awesome to see more TNG hit the shelf. Nothing cooler, in my opinion. Well, yeah, we definitely do have some finally. And there will be more. I think I'm saving it till Friday, but I have a trip to a store where I got to talk to this guy at a convention recently. And he told me that him and a buddy... They have like a brick and mortar store. Him and a buddy recently bought out a warehouse of Playmates Star Trek stuff. He said that they went and they got themselves a trailer, like the biggest truck that you can get from like the U-Haul, drove down there and loaded it to the top, like no space left, and drove it back to his store. And one of the items I'm getting, I'm very excited about, he has it set to the side. It is an original series Bridge Crew box set. So it's the box set with all the original figures. It's got the entire original crew. So that literally finishes that side of the shelf over there for me. Because what I want is I have an original Enterprise. I want to put the original crew in front of it. I have the Next Generation Enterprise. I want to put the Next Generation crew in front of it. After that, whatever shows up is whatever shows up. And we'll figure it out as we go from there. Because at that point, we're kind of nitpicking as to what we want. I love Star Trek. It's something I could very easily get in trouble with. But the cool thing about those figures is that they're very affordable. Like, so I'm not going to have that problem. I'm very much looking forward to this because I really want to go see what he has. And if I'm lucky and I take a good chunk of change with me, maybe I could come home with a haul. He lives, like, his store is relatively like an hour and 20 minutes away from me. So it's going to be a bit of a road trip. But I'm actually excited to take it. I'm very much looking forward to it. Yeah, I was looking at it a little bit. I don't know if I'm going to buy a bunch of Godzilla again. There was a time when I was buying Godzilla, but like Godzilla can get very overpriced very fast. Storm Arena is definitely the best. Let's see, what do we got here? Spock is winning so far. Okay. Where the problem lies with SH Cyclops, something people made a big deal about when it comes to Marvel Legends Gamer vs. Wolverine. SH Figuarts Psych is small. Marvel Legends Psych is taller. Mafex Wolverine is taller too. That's interesting. Okay. Yeah, and you want your Wolverine to be small, and really, you want your Cyclops to be tall. His nickname is Slim. He's a tall... He's permaflex in most of the stuff that we see, but he's supposed to be kind of tall and almost lanky. Like, you know he's in shape, but he's not supposed to be like... He's not supposed to be big. Even though, you know, we get into the 90s comics and stuff like that, and most comic books will always draw him as like this big, ridiculously ripped guy, even though that's really not proper to the way they explain him. But yeah, Storm Collectibles is even better. I imagine you're talking about as compared to Jada. I think that's subjective because, like I said, everybody was flipping out about the Sagat. I didn't see enough reason to jump ship to the other Sagat when I've already got the Sagat that I really like from Jada. I'm fine with that. It didn't floor me that much. But with the Chun-Li, I am kind of jumping back and forth, but there's a subjective idea here because the Chun-Li face that I see on the Jada looks more proper to the original picking screen than the face that I'm seeing on the Storm Arena, where they took more of the anime look for her. Which is better? I think that's a subjective argument, to be fair. Doesn't affect me. I'm too broke to even breathe. I imagine that's probably true right now. See, I've watched the Netflix Frankenstein. I have my criticisms, but the standout is the creature and Jacob Elordi as the creature. I don't think I've ever felt empathic towards the creature before. That's interesting. Really, you never felt empathetic? That's the reason that interests me is because, like, I feel in both the original, I'm calling them original because what most people know is the 1930s movies, the first two films, he very much is a creature left to discover for himself. And there is something there as you watch it to see how people treat him. It's an old movie. Both of them are. But, like, it's done very well in terms of the way that you kind of see that he is the way he is because of how he got treated. He is a very sympathetic thing. Where other movies haven't done a great job about it, I'll admit that. And the book very much makes him sympathetic up to a point. And then kind of it's up for debate towards the end. But even at the end of the book, one could argue, I mean, with everything that he's gone through, he's fully justified. I really, really, really like the Frankenstein monster. And I think I like him the most of a lot of these different monsters because he is honestly sympathetic. A lot of other monsters, people claim they're sympathetic, but like, in some cases you're kind of digging to like create that sympathy. With Nolan doing his version of the Odyssey next year, do you think that the 80s Ulysses 31 cartoon will maybe get a Super 7 treatment? That would be interesting, but I would be surprised, in all honesty. But then again, I mean, Super 7 really likes to dig, so that's hard to say. Well, Poop, gonna have to talk to Nick then so we can get you a Star Trek beep noise generator for the playset then. So, it's a box set. It's hard to explain. It's not really a playset. Now, he does have a bridge. It's not complete. It's only missing one part, and it's something that I could easily print and fix. And he only wants $100 for it. That's a lot for me right now. But I have to admit, the idea of owning a playset bridge is really cool. Like, it really catches my attention. I've never had one. It would be really neat. I don't know where I would put it. It would be another toy that would end up sitting in the garage. And I don't need a lot more of those. Because I like to have my stuff in here. I don't know. I do need a Borg. I want Hugh, and then I want at least a random Borg, and then I want Locutus at the very least on the shelf. I'll agree with that. You mean like that meme I shared earlier with Milhouse and the 80s Cyclops, and Gene can't figure out which one is which? I jump onto the Storm Arena wagon when I get more Darkstalkers characters. Now, see that, the Storm Arena thing, I think that's where I would make a different argument. Like, all the first things that we just talked about, that's different. But that is exactly where I am. I would love to see them do something like Mortal Kombat. I would jump on that, because they'd be at a proper scale to be able to mix with my Street Fighter. And I love the idea if they start getting King of Fighters in there. And I love the idea that they're already getting Darkstalkers. Like, that kind of stuff, that's solid. And I would, like, add them into my Street Fighter shelf over there. Like, that I agree with you. I think that's an absolutely solid concept. Having them, definitely. That I like a lot. I'm right there with you. I saw they released like Morgan, and I haven't really been paying too much attention to it, but I saw that she's out, and I thought there were a couple of other characters that are already on the roster. So like, that interests me. It would be very cool to have a Felicia. Yes, I agree. Like all of them, to be fair, yes. But, like, absolutely, that's where my interest for Storm Arena is. It's not really in Street Fighter. I'm already invested in Street Fighter with a different line. But from what I've seen, Storm Arena is very compatible with that line. And if we take the next step even further, I would like to see them start bringing in Soul Calibur people. Like, it would be cool to see Samurai Warriors, Samurai Showdown, and like stuff like that, like Soul Calibur and whatnot. Because Storm Arena has the chance here to get a 1/12 fighting line and just really go crazy. And then we could get all kinds of very cool characters from all kinds of different fighting games. I think it would be fantastic. I watched the original Frankenstein years ago. The only one after that was the 1994 adaptation. I felt bad for the monster, but the only one after that. You must mean the one that you watched, because there's like 5 or 6 original Frankenstein movies, and then there's an entire Dr. Frankenstein film series from Hammer Films, and that's crazy. Like, that's a whole thing, man. Like, that series is wild. Let's see. There he is. Stay. All right. Let's do the first one. Star Trek. Spock. First Spock. So, what is this? This is the Playmates figure, Spock, and I'm pretty sure this is Cage Spock. I'm almost 100% sure. Does it say right on here? It says Mr. Spock celebrating 30 years as seen, da-da-da. Mr. Spock, original Star Trek TV series, da-da-da-da. Does the back give us an indication? Yes. It says right here, Cage Spock. Okay, that's the one we got right there, Cage Spock. Okay, so I'm right. This is not the one that serves alongside Christopher Pike. This is the first Spock from the Cage, which that's... Wait, hold on. No, you're not. So I'm fighting with myself here. Even looking at the back now, that's wrong. This says the Cage, Star Trek pilot, and has Spock right there, okay? He's right there. But he's in blue. That's wrong, isn't it? Didn't he wear... Wasn't he in that beige color? Or was the beige color... My mind is messing with me. I don't remember. I feel like he was in the beige color, because I seem to remember when he's playing chess with Kirk at the beginning, he's not in blue. My mind... Because now I'm like mixing the two up. This says, as seen in the pilot episode, The Cage. Was he in both? Did he start in one and then change the uniform as the thing went on? Did he end up in blue? Holy crap. I'm going to be honest with you. This normally doesn't happen to me, where I get like lost on a Star Trek question, like a thing. Normally I'm really good about this, actually. But for some reason, my mind is not processing which one it is, unless it's both. Unless he starts in the beige gold color or whatever, and then moves to the blue as the show went on or whatever. This is Pilot Spock. Like, I'm looking over there trying to remember if I already have a Pilot series Spock of a different... No, I have... So, over on that shelf back there, I have the Mir Spock, but I did not have this. What do I want? I want the original series Spock more than anything else. But this, I seen it there, and I was like, I'm not going to pass that by. That's solid, and since I already have a Pike on the shelf, I thought this would be a really cool addition, because he could stand next to Pike, and it would kind of work. The other part here is that when I see these out in the wilderness, okay, I gotta say one thing that surprises me about Star Trek Playmates figures. This is sealed. Sealed. It costs $8. And one could argue it may even be overpriced. I'm pretty sure I probably could have found him in a bin for $5 in a little bag. I'm almost positive of it. The Playmates figures must have been so dramatically overproduced that they basically give them away. Like, they have to be. Because not only do I find these all the time, I find them in packaging, complete, untouched, never opened. And oftentimes they are less than $10. Often. Regular. That shocks me. Because I cannot tell you how many times we go to these conventions and see little things like a Xena the Warrior Princess still in the package on the shelf. And you're like, oh my gosh, that toy looks awful. And then you look at the price and they're asking like $250. And you're like, what? Think about like, and we know these were ridiculously produced. But Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they were ridiculously overproduced. There wasn't a question that you could get a Raphael, a Donatello, a Leonardo, a Michelangelo. Easily accessible. They were loaded on every shelf. Stores came to a point where they actually not only, like, they went from not being able to keep inventory to being able to have so much inventory they couldn't get rid of it. And now it's even reproduced. Where there's not a whole lot of difference, if you want the truth about it, in the new reproduction ones and the ones that we grew up with. They're pretty solidly the same thing. Awfully close. Miraculously close. And yet, if you find those still in their package, they can cost over $200 a figure. They really can, depending on the convention you're at. Relatively, I would argue that I've seen them at a base somewhere around $150. If they're signed, that's a bigger thing. But you can easily see Ninja Turtles still in their packages selling for $100 plus. Easily. Without question. Spock? $8. Q? I think I paid $7. I got a Sela for $5. I got that Tasha Yar not too long ago. We did a video on her. She was like $7. They cost nothing. Fully in package. They cost nothing. I'm not going to complain. I think that's fantastic. I love that even. Because, then I get them. And I get to open them. Just like when I was a kid. And I've heard people that like lose their crap when I do that. I open it and they go, "Oh my God, you can't! I can't believe that you would open that figure." And I'm like, "I'm sorry, maybe you came to the wrong show. I'm an opener, and you will not convince me when I can find these things on a store shelf for $8 still in package that it's worth keeping them in the package." No. Absolutely not. And as such, let's open this very cheap, complete, in-package original figure. Okay. Of course, we got a card. This was always a big deal. Cards were everywhere. I even have a video about that, actually, talking about how cards were like everywhere and you could always get cards. Yeah. He does come with a communicator. It's fine. It's not anything that's going to blow your mind. It's got a little bit of gold paint. Otherwise, it's completely black. He's got a phaser. It's got a little bit of silver here and there to kind of like touch it up, but it's not going to blow your mind. He's got a toolbox or something of the sort. And it's just solid black. It's not. It's also not going to blow your mind, but it's fine. I mean, it's fine. I'm actually trying to remember what this is. Like why he came with like a random little box. This figure has just made my decision, by the way. Every year, I choose a Star Trek series, and I go back through it. Every year. It's not a joke. I really do. This year, I went through all of Enterprise again. Original series time. The fact that there's so much about this that I am not remembering, it's original series time. That's what I'm watching this year. I'm kicking through the original series again. Next year, I guess, to be fair. We're so close that I'm already calling it next year. It's not, but you get the idea. And then he comes with this. This, I kind of like these. It's not every figure that comes with them, but every now and then these figures come with things, consoles, little computer screens, little things like that. I kind of wish that they were a lot more prominent, because I think it would be cool to paint a lot of these and then make like a display. Like you could make little Trek 1960s displays, and I think you could easily do it with a decent little cardboard box and background display. Paint it pink or yellow or orange, because remember the walls, they were all like blue and orange and pink and greens, and so like you don't have to worry about getting crazy about it. You just paint it one color, choose the color, and then you go in and line the area with a bunch of stuff like this. Paint it just enough to kind of get the effect, put some little dots on there and whatnot, and you could easily, almost anybody, since literally the sets back then were basically made of cardboard anyway, you could make a very convincing set for these figures. I don't think that you'd have trouble doing it, in all honesty. I think you'd be fine. Otherwise, look, we're not going to blow our minds here. He's a Spock. He's a Spock. If I can get his likeness, cover my face, see, can we get that? Can we do it? I am not getting... It does not want to focus on him for some reason. Don't look at my face, camera. I can't get it. I can't get it to do it right now. I'm looking into that, by the way. This camera is going to be replaced. I found something that has a lot of promise, and we're going to see how that does. Not saying anything yet, but I'm looking into something, a camera that I found that I think has a lot of promise. It's specifically built to work with OBS, which is what I use for all the lives. And it has certain features that I'm very much looking forward to. Like it has an autofocus for like when you're presenting. If it feels that you've put something in front of you it'll kind of focus on that and be like, oh, he's trying to show a thing. And then it's got another thing where it has hand signals where I can do something like this, and then I can make it like zoom out and zoom in depending on, and it actually follows me. So if I was to go over here, it kind of moves. It's a really cool camera. So we'll talk about it when we get there. However, Playmates figures, for their time, I kind of got to give it up to them. Look, I grew up with like Ninja Turtles. They didn't move for crap. There was a lot of imagination going on with Ninja Turtles and He-Man and stuff like that. But these figures were fairly well done. They did cheap out later towards the end of the line where their arms got static, like right around the right around the Generations movie. Like those figures come out and they've got hands like this and they move their shoulders and that's all they do. But the figures originally at the start of the line, however, they had neck articulation, they had a full rotating shoulder, they have bicep swivel, and they have an up and down 90-degree on their arm. They're decent. Their legs actually go up and they come in. So depending on the situation, and they sat weird, I'll give it that. But like, if you actually put them down, they would sit in the chairs that they came in, like, you know, when you get the shuttlecraft and stuff like that. The legs were the most questionable part of these figures back then, but they still moved better than a lot of figures that we had back then. And they have a swivel at the hips. So, like, to be fair, back then, these figures moved pretty good. And their likenesses were pretty well done. Like, I know that I can't get it to focus, but believe me when I tell you, that is a solid Nimoy. Like, for the price that you are paying, that is a solid Nimoy. One could argue it's a little cartoonish, but that's fine. I don't think it's actually a bad thing. I think in a way it almost even helps them because everybody in the line is done like that. So you can very blatantly tell who the characters are, but also you don't have to take it too hyper realistic because you could tell that's not what they were going for. So it allows you to kind of open up and kind of, you know, just use your imagination and fill in the blanks. I think it works. And I think it's part of the reason that I've stuck with the line as long as I have. I played with these toys when I was a kid, and I'm still interested in collecting and picking them up even today. And I don't think that's going to change. I know my overall arcing goal is to put the original series main cast in front of my Enterprise on that side of the shelf, and then put the main series Next Generation cast in front of my Next Generation ship. That's what I'm going to start with to put all these back on the shelf. Not a lot of these are still left over from my direct childhood. Only a couple of them are left over from my direct childhood. Most of them are not. But as I've been recollecting all of them, putting them all back on the shelf, it hasn't been too tough to do. And because of their price, like I said, it wouldn't surprise me at all if I get to a point where once I complete my goal and put them the way that I want, expanding won't be something that I'll be too worried about doing or that I'll have too much difficulty doing. And then, question will be what to do with them. I'm really thinking about getting into like building some stuff myself, like actually building like a conference room, painting, making my own table and stuff like that. I'm not a huge arts and crafts guy, that's fine, but I don't think I would have to blow anybody's mind to get away with making something passable that I could put on the shelf. I think I could do it. And I think I'm actually going to try. Not sure when, but I've got a couple of boxes put to the side that I'm going to start working with so I can make some ideas. And stuff like this is going to come in real handy for that. Spock added to the shelf. Let's see. Doop, doop. So let's do, because we got up to there, so that puts us on. And then loops us back around. Yeah. Wait. Oh, crap. I do have that sitting over there. Yeah, okay. I guess that's in the running. There we go. Okay. That's what I meant. Okay, and that's what I figured you were saying. Yeah. Hello, what did I miss? Not much. The camera is spocked out of its mind. See why it doesn't. But Vulcan, you do. Puns for days. Good job. I'm less down in the dumps compared to last week. That's good. It's good to hear that you're doing good. Like legit. Do I have the shuttles? No. So I had a shuttle back when I was growing up. And I used to play with it all the time. I saw a shuttle when I went to this to the last convention. And I want to say I already did a video on that. Yes. Yeah, there's already video up talking about that. I went to QuadCon and I saw a shuttle there. And I almost bought it. I didn't, but I almost did. But that table specifically, I'm going to check out his store, his brick and mortar shop soon. Hopefully Friday. We'll see. Maybe it's going to have to be Saturday, but I hope to get out there Friday after work, and we'll see. But very much so. Would I like to put another shuttle on the shelf? I think there's argument that it would be cool to have a shuttle on the shelf. Like, I fight with myself about how many vehicles I want to start adding, because it takes up a lot of space. But the Star Trek shelf is not hugely expansive. It's really not. And it's because I've been pretty careful about what I want. I know what I want, and we just talked about all the things that I want in general, like how I want to set that shelf up. So I think that if I stick to that, I won't be having that big of a problem. And I think there's more than enough retail space on that shelf in particular. And a shuttle, if nothing else, if I had to, I could hang that. Which now offers the argument, what ones or one? I had the Next Generation shuttle. That's the one I had when I was a kid. So that's the one I think I would go for first. After that, we open up and make debate, I think. But yeah, don't have them, do have interest. For the record, I was sort of sad because you might or might not have heard Sentai is potentially ending forever. I did hear. I did. And it's ending on a very sour note due to scandals. That plus a show I've been watching for 15 years ends exactly a month or so. So I understand this better than you know. Honestly. See, I grew up watching Star Trek. This is relevant. And Star Trek was always there. It was always there. I grew up, I watched reruns of the original series. Then there was The Next Generation. Then there was DS9. Then there was Voyager. Then there were the movies. Then there was Enterprise. Then there was nothing. It just died. Like, if you were there, you know. It just stopped. We were and you can argue whatever you'd like about the way that the series was. Like, you can argue this work, this didn't work, I never liked this, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. I'm somewhat of a Star Trek apologist. I've yet to see a Star Trek that I absolutely detest. I'm pretty much fine with all of it. I love Star Trek. There are things I disagree with, sure, but I love Star Trek in general. And it was always a constant in my life. And all of a sudden, Enterprise gets only 4 seasons. Arguably, for me, being a better show than Voyager ever was, I said it, and yet somehow Voyager gets 7, like Next Gen gets 7, DS gets 7, original series technically got 4. I make the argument that the animated series counts as season 4. You can argue if you don't like that or whatever. I get it. That's fine. I wouldn't fight you on it, but for me, that's the way I've always looked at it. Then we get to Enterprise, and there's only 4, and back then we didn't even get like a warning, really. It wasn't in the same way that it is for like you today, where like you get all this news and information and why it's happening and this and that, and you get to know. You literally like got to prepare yourself. I was watching, and they were like, "Oh, series finale coming up tomorrow," and for me, that was the only thing I'd even heard about it. Like, I wasn't online looking stuff up and everything like that at the time. Just all of a sudden, it wasn't going to be anything. And then it wasn't. And it wasn't a thing for years. We went years with no Trek. None. Just talks about possible movies, possible series. Go read a book. Check out that expanded universe. But there was no promise of new Trek. No real determined promise. It was just dead. And I get the idea of having a series that then gets to a point and it's literally always been there, and you kind of take comfort in that, and then it goes away and it bothers you in a way that you weren't expecting. Yeah, I get it. I very much get it. Okay, interesting. Storage 1. So, let's do a storage. I have 2 boxes sitting over here. I don't know what's in them. I'm going to reach in, randomly get something, and we're going to talk about a toy memory. That's how storage works. If you're new to the show, that's what it is. I have 2, I actually think I have 3 boxes now. All boxes from like back when I moved. And we're talking like back when I moved out of my dad's. And some of this stuff has literally been sitting to the side and has never been unpacked since then. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, what do I... Hold on. We got ourselves a lantern here. Which means somewhere down towards that... Okay. Interesting. I know what this is. Okay. This is the DC Classics Green Lantern. I already know where this is coming. I already know what's happening here, okay? Because I've talked about this many times. And people say, people are going to say, do you hate DC Classics? Yes. You're looking at why. Woo! Okay. Some people really liked DC Classics. I gave them a shot. I remember I bought around 6 of these. I had a Superman. I had 2 Batman. I think I had 2 Green Lantern. I never liked any of them. These, even back then, feel like the Super 7 toys feel to me now. There was something about toys during this era that, like, I know they were trying to, like, grow up and be better. But they never hit right with me. Ever. DC Classics, Motu Classics, figures in general in this era specifically did not speak to me. I pretty much left toy collecting because of stuff like this. By comparison, because I know people feel a certain way about McFarlane figures. As compared to DC Classics, I would tell you, and you don't have to agree with me, but I would tell you McFarlane's better. Regardless of how behind the times he is, his figures are better. There were things I simply did not like and still don't like to this day about this figure design. One, I hate the way they were doing stomachs back then. Like this weird, like, I get it, they wanted him to be able to, like, move, but this never worked for me. Like, I don't like that. I really hate this. Like, I never appreciated it. I never liked it. It was never great for me. I guess I could appreciate the fact that the wrists turned, but, like, they don't go like this, and they don't do that. They can't really move like that. You can get all kinds of poses and whatnot out of him. I'm surprised he's actually maintained his level of, like, joint tightness throughout the years. But I guess, oh my gosh, put your arm down. I never really used him though. Okay, he was not a toy I played with. He was not a toy I posed. I know that this is the way figures were at the time. I never liked this. And I still don't. I still don't. Sure, he looks right. I mean, he looks like Hal Jordan. That's fine. That's cool. But, like, I don't like... I never liked this. Like, what is going on with the legs? I hated this. I was never really into that. Like, the legs are a mess. I mean, they work, but they bother me. Like, they've got, like, this little thing here where there's like a joint here, and then, like, that, like, has, like, a thing where it kind of comes out. You see what I'm talking about? Like, this thing, and then there's just, like, this deep cut on the thigh. So, like, when they do anything, like if they do a sidekick, like if a Batman does a sidekick, they got this hard cut. See this hard butt cut? Hard butt cut. And then, like, they have no butts because they just have this weird, like, puzzle thing going on with their cheeks. Like, and then they got the weird, like, I mean, I guess you can. I'm not saying you can't get poses and things out of this. For the time, I get what they were going for, and it really did. I know why people like it, okay? There are still people that swear by classics today. I see them at toy conventions all the time where that is specifically what they're there doing. They're hunting in the bins looking for classics they don't have. I get it. I get it. It's not that I don't get it. For the time, especially if you were in toys at the time and this really spoke to you, these were, like, cool. But for me, even all these years later, and even back then, I did not like these designs. I do not like these designs. This guy is not earning a place on the shelf. He is coming out of storage. And now show them your sadness. And he is going directly into a bag to be sold. There you go. Walk away. Walk away. Get out of here. Go. It's not sticking in the collection. We have said this multiple times. Everything in this collection has to have a story, a purpose. Whether it be a big story or a small one, it has to relate to me somehow. It has to be something I give a crap about for a real reason. And if it doesn't, It's got to go. That Green Lantern, bye. Let me set this up and we'll go back to talking. Get out of my way, Hal. Okay. And we went from that, we went to Figma, which takes us back to... And because we'll call it the reigning champion, we'll put it in again just to see how things pan out. Okay, so meant to ask, but did you pre-order that Giant Man and Wasp 2-pack, or are you going to pass? I did pass. The Wasp looks cool, but she fits a very specific era that I'm not necessarily building on my shelf. And the Giant Man is very cool. Like I like the fact that he actually has a cloth goods jacket and everything like that. I think that's cool. But in the end, he's Giant Man, not giant. Like he's small Giant Man. And say I was to buy him and put him on the shelf. Cool. They're not even going to make that level of Giant Man again for me. And I'm not about to pay what I would need to pay to put Giant Man on the shelf as a giant man. So, like, no. I did consider it. I really did. But that's where my mind went, and I did pass on it. Who knows? Maybe if I walk by them in a Walmart and I have extra money, I will end up buying them just for the novelty of what they are. They are cool. They do fit a comic era that I used to read. I know the Wasp. I know Giant Man. I understand Hank Pym. I do appreciate their legacy and their history. But in the long run, they were never favorite characters necessarily. And without the gimmick of what they're meant to be in general, they're kind of hard for me to put on the shelf. Unless I was specifically going out of my way to build an old Avengers team or something like that. I'm not. I do have a Mark I Iron Man that we've never opened. He's never passed a vote. But there's a different reason that I wanted him. And I'm not going to buy the gold one. So I'm never going to be in a position where I have like classic big bullet looking Iron Man, Gold Man. And I'm not going to have super ridiculous classic like other characters. I just don't think that it's going to work. Who knows though? Maybe I could be wrong. Maybe in the long run as things go and I pile things here and there, maybe before I know it, I'll have all the classics on the shelf and then I'll kick myself for it. But for right now, I am passing on it. The original series shuttle comes with the first season Kirk. Yes, but I won't need it. That's fine. I'm not saying that you're wrong in any way, but I'm not going to need it because I'm going to be buying the Bridge Crew box set, and so I will have original series first season Kirk. So I'm not too worried about that, in all honesty. However, if I do have a chance to put an original series shuttle on the shelf, I will probably take it. But we're talking about running into it randomly in the wild more than anything else. Let's see. Honestly, it's not really that it's ending that made me sad. It was because of the other circumstances. I've talked about them on the Discord. Scandals, controversies, attacks, which make it all a bit... They say don't meet your heroes. I get it. I really do. I get where you're coming from, but... I mean, if you're looking at the Power Rangers fandom, and you're watching how they're getting called out and some of the stuff that's going on, I'm not surprised. And all I could tell you is that people are people, and that especially as shows get so big and there's so many people involved with the shows, sooner or later there's going to be scandals and bad eggs and so on and so forth. I do get it, but like, it was inevitable. Literally inevitable. There's plenty of new generation. There is potentially a new generation for Sentai, but we don't know what it is. A rebrand, a new thing altogether, so mystery. I get it. Mystery box. That's pretty much what that is, yes. Universe Heroes is what is apparently... Universe Heroes. Oh, yeah. Okay, no. Oh, yep. I very much consider the Trek FMV games, Borg and Klingon, as canon if I squint. I know what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about. Glad I stuck around then. Gonna head out a few. All right, man. Darn right, McFarlane is better. I had the DC Universe Classics Doomsday, broke off at the bicep. Last DC Universe Classics I ever bought. That's what's known as Hank Hill. Hank Hill butt. It really is, man. You're right. They gave Hal Jordan a Hank Hill butt. Phil, don't tell me you don't like your crop chop DC action figures. You know what's crazy? Your crotch chop. You know what's really crazy though? If you think these were bad, the females in this line were sometimes abhorrent. And even, oh man, they got worse when the line started dying at the end. Oh my God, did they get worse. He goes, the lantern stays. I could keep that lantern. That's true. That could probably go on my display though. Let's see. Gonna head to sleep. Already messed up my sleep schedule enough as is. I get it, man. Time for Bill's Choice. Are we there? Is that happening? Oh my gosh. Okay, yeah, we're at 25. Okay, yes. We have a stalemate chat, so I'm going to pull something. And actually, I'm going to dig for something, actually, specifically. Something that hasn't won a vote. It's never been voted on. Actually, I think it's been in the vote a couple of times, but it never wins the vote. But I've definitely now, I'm very curious to see it because of something that's coming. So let me get these out of the way. Whoop. Because I want to see this before we get to the point of the new one showing up. Let me move those. There's that, and you go there. Okay. Yeah, I want to see this before we get to the point where I can't get it. What's in the box? Okay. Yeah, let's check this one out then. Black Widow. This is Marvel Legends. It's Black Widow. But this specifically is the gray suit Black Widow. And there's a reason I really want to open it right now. See, I've had this for a while. I can't remember exactly when I picked it up, but I picked it up and then we voted on it once or twice, and she lost both times that she was in the vote rotation. So we never opened her. That's fine. That happens with the kind of show that we're doing. So when ties happen and I get to pick, sometimes I'll purposely go back and open something that we never got a chance to look at. And I was thinking about it, and I got this Black Widow quite a while ago, and now we are so far forward that we're about to get another Black Widow. That's this Black Widow, the gray suit Black Widow. Now, most people, when they think Black Widow, I know what they think. They immediately think about the black costume, tight leather Black Widow. I'm going to assume it's a type of leather. Maybe it's just a spandex. Comic books are comic books. They wear skin suits, okay? What that is made of, I don't know, but you get the idea. Now, most people, when they think about Black Widow, they think about the all-black suit. I get that. I actually don't. For me, I remember this Black Widow. For some reason, she is etched in my mind. I remember the comic books specifically where she cut her hair. I remember when this became her costume. I remember when she wore this costume for quite a while. Specifically, she was even dating Daredevil around the time, and Daredevil had a very specific way that he thought about certain situations and things like that, like some people that she worked for and the way that he felt about it. And also, she kind of called him out on multiple books about kind of having some chauvinist-esque tendencies. Comic books, we like to act like they're never political or whatever. They are. Comic books are always playing around with chauvinist this, fascist that, racist this, blah, blah, blah. It's been happening since we were kids, and it's never going to stop. Comic books are always talking about the different topics in different viewpoints of different cultures all the time. It's never not been that way. It never will not be that way. Pay attention to the storylines in your comic books. But because of that, this is the way I viewed her for years. For years and years and years, I thought of her as the gray suit Black Widow. Then she went back to black. I'm going to be honest. I do prefer the black suit Black Widow. I do. There's no way around it. Absolutely. But when my mind thinks of her, comic book wise, the first thing that pops into my mind every single time is the gray suit. Every time. Gray suit, short hair. Every time. Now, that's not saying that I don't prefer other looks, because I do. This isn't my absolute preferred look, but when I first think of Black Widow, anytime somebody brings her up, this is what I think about. And now, we're getting an update of her on the new Black Widow body, which, before she even arrives, we don't even have to ask questions. She's going to be fantastic. We know this because we already got the Black Widow, and we already know that body works, and we already know that she is the reason that we are tired of getting figure after figure after figure that seems to be a decade old in the female figures in Marvel Legends, because we know after that Black Widow that they can do it, they won't do it. Look, we even called it out when we reviewed Storm. When we talked about Storm, we talked about the fact that she was still built like a figure from 6 years ago. There's no excuse for that anymore. You need all the articulation that we saw with that Black Widow, and we need it to go across the board for every single female figure in the line. It's time. It's time. We need to move forward. Kind of like you wouldn't expect that all of a sudden you would get figures late in the line and they would be missing articulation that they're supposed to have. You know what I'm talking about. You know the terrible figure I'm talking about. So, with all that said, I need to see her because I need to make a determination here. Is she worth hanging on to? Is she still decent enough and different enough? Will the jacket make a difference? I don't know. She has the jacket. She has some cool effects. She has the jetpack. Will it make enough of a difference that she will remain on the shelf when we get the next one? I don't know. Part of me says no. But I need to see this before I can even make a determination. So here we go. Let's open it. Okay. Is it normal? Do the Black Widow figures just always come with a bunch of stuff? Because I don't have enough to make any real determination here. All I could say is that I've got a couple of Black Widow figures now, and like this one has like a jetpack, and she has like smoke effect gauntlets, and she has blast effect gauntlets, and she has, technically, depending on how you would like to do it, I know these are for the jetpack as blast effects for the jetpack, but because of the way they're designed, they could easily go on somebody's hand for repulsor effects and things like that as well. And then she's obviously got expression hands, and then she's got, her punching hands and whatnot. It's just that it seems like Black Widow comes fully tricked out. That's what I'm saying. Like, her belt is a loose part, so it floats. That's kind of cool. She's got the jacket, which is legit kind of neat. She's got a decent upper movement, but we expect that from these figures around this time. Her head is a little bit in her way. Her hair and her collar make it so she can't really look up. She can't really do it, which I'll be honest, that surprises me. I figured her hair would make it so that would not be a problem, but it very much is. And then, of course, she will look down. She can look way down to the point where it doesn't even look right. Like, it looks like somebody kicked her in the neck, and she's dying now. Yeah, I can't, even if I point it forward or pull it all the way back, can I get it to pull? I can get it to kind of look up. It's not very good. Okay, I'm not going to get too much out of the head movement. I am 100% noticing that. The collar and everything is actually kind of in the way. Otherwise, that's a very solid face. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it to focus, but she has a very good design. Oh, yeah, I got it. See? That's very good. That's good enough that even if I get the new Black Widow and I make the decision to like get rid of this one, I may keep the face just because it's done very well. That's good. That's a solid head sculpt. So you got to give her that. Otherwise, we're looking at a lot of the same things that we've seen in most every single one of the girls in the entire line of Marvel Legends, because they share all the same body cavity here. From here down, it's just one solid piece. They all have the same abs, they have the same hips, they have the same cheeks, they have the same everything, okay? We are looking at pins. It's an older figure. Then we're looking at the old 90-degree arms again. So this isn't the double-jointed arms. That could arguably hurt her for staying on the shelf when we get the new one. Otherwise, we're not experiencing too much difficulty here in the legs. But like I said, we've talked about these figures specifically 100 times. We know exactly what we're getting when we buy these figures specifically, because they refused to change their body mold forever. One thing I'm noticing, though, like, of course, we're not going to get too crazy into paint because it is what it is, but it's all solid gray. I wish they put the marking here. I know you can, like, Q-tip that out. I'm not saying that you can't, but, like, I don't see why we don't go out of our way to, like, how come we can't print that on the inside of the jacket somewhere or something like that if it has to be on there? You get the idea? Like, why do we do that? Why is that not just, like, printed on the inside of the jacket or something? I don't understand why we go out of our way to do that. Like, it really does bother me. Mine has a little bit of a wobble in the leg down here. Nothing too terrible. I'm surprised. Oh, wow, that's hiding something right there. So I pulled the coat up, and it's got the spider. And at first I was like, that's really cool that they would go out of their way to do that and have that painted on there. But then I started moving it, and there's a real gap in her back here that coat hides. You know what I'm talking about? Like, it really does hide what's going on under this coat. And as for the coat, you can't really take it off. Even if I pulled the arms and I pulled the coat, she doesn't have a spare set of arms, and these parts aren't floating. These are like where the arms are the actual jacket, and then the jacket is a floating piece. So yeah, this is not going to get in your way. It moves. We have backpack right here. I imagine what I've got to do is I've got to pull the arms to put this on her. Maybe I don't, but this seems really, really tight. The jetpack in general. Maybe you can just... Yeah, that feels like it's a lot like when you put the jacket on Reed Richards. I think I've got to pull the arms. I think you got to pop the arms out of socket and then put that on. Maybe you don't, but it certainly feels like that. It feels like this is very tight, which I wasn't expecting. I thought this would be like a G.I. Joe backpack, where there'd be like a thing here and you'd plug it into their back, especially since all of these female figures have had the hole in their back, and I'm positive that if we could get down and move that jacket, she's got a hole in her back. It would not surprise me in the least to learn she has the hole on her back. Otherwise, like I said, you have the floating wrist gauntlets for whatever kinds of effects you want to do. If you want to get the blast effects and things like that, she's not a bad figure. Arguably, had I opened her back when I got her, but that's the nature of the show. That's the nature of the way that we do this show. I didn't really open her, and now where I figured it would be fine that she sat around for as long as she did, I didn't figure it would be a problem. But now we've got another gray suit Black Widow on the way. And I can already see that you're probably not going to survive. The jacket and the pack and everything, one could argue that it probably, you know what I mean? That it probably makes a difference. That once you get everything put on, maybe it's just like unique enough that it's kind, you know what I mean? Like that it could survive and not have an issue or whatever. But I don't know realistically. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to pop the arm out. And I just kind of tried it with one of the arms and I didn't really get the response I wanted. Maybe I'll have to heat her up or whatnot, because normally you could just kind of like pull up at a bit of an angle and these arms will pop. But I'm not getting that this time. She's really resisting, and I don't want to pull the arm out and be wrong. So we're not going to do it on camera. I'm going to wait and probably heat her up and pop her arm, or see if maybe there's a... Like, does this... No, there's not like a... This doesn't pop out and then like one side goes back in or something like that. So either I've got to find exactly how to move the arms properly and get them on there, or I've got to pop the arm out of socket. And because it feels like it's resisting me, I don't want to pull it and find out that it's older plastic and needs to be heated. And if I pull it and I pop the arm and she's broken, well, then that's the end of that. So we're not going to do that on camera. But I have pretty much got what I wanted. I wanted to see her. I wanted to know. And now I do. I have a general concept of how I feel about it. And I already know the next one is going to be absolute. It's going to be one of the best ones we've ever seen, because the last Black Widow was easily one of the best Marvel Legends they have literally ever made. Now they're going to follow that up with the gray suit. And really the main difference is gray suit. So like, how could they go wrong? You see what I'm saying? We'll see, because I will get it and we will talk about it when I get it. Otherwise, she's added to the shelf, and for now, she's a fine figure. She's not blowing my mind. She's solid. But because of what's on the way, I don't think she has any permanency. Just is what it is. So, Let's go to the chat for a little while, and then because of my time that I'm dealing with tonight, we'll do another storage before we walk out of here tonight. So let's see. Black Widow in gray is like Blue Ranger in green, discombobulating. Civilian. How do you move around in those things? Black Widow. Don't matter. We saving. Civilian. But, Black Widow, we saving. What am I reviewing now? Still storage? We'll be going back to storage pretty soon. Just because of the amount of time that I have for tonight. I just came back from dinner, so I'm in the darker than dark. And I get that. Yeah. Not gonna lie, Gamerverse Psylocke has me spoiled. And I imagine that when I hopefully get my hands on that Ms. Marvel, I put mine on pre-order, I can't wait, I'll be even more spoiled. They really need to use that buck more. Yes, it needs to become the definitive buck of the line. Absolutely. You can't keep doing the 10-year-old figures anymore. You can't get away with it. It doesn't work. It's not right. You shouldn't do it. It's unacceptable at this point. That's like, look guys, we talked about it. I've been waiting for this storm for years. I got it. And even still, with all my backstory and all my interest and all my love for this storm, I still had to call it out and say, you know what's holding her back? You know what her biggest problem is? They didn't use the main body. They used the old body, so she doesn't have any hip movement. Storm, a character that flies and twists and does all kinds of, like, not necessarily Spider-Man poses, but you get the idea of it, has no lower ab crunch. That's not acceptable. Not anymore. It really isn't anymore. Every single one of these figures, by this point, should be with the... They should absolutely be with the full body movement. That Psylocke, that's a proper figure. That Warbird, proper figure. The new Phoenix, proper figure. The Black Widow that we're about to get, proper figure. The Black Widow that we got that started this new body buck trend, that's a solid figure. But like, we went from that Black Widow, and all of a sudden there was all this promise, and we were like, this is what the female buck is going to be like in the line now. I can't wait to see what they start doing. And then they released Crystal. What? Like, and she's built on the same female buck that we've had for like a decade. Like, why? That's not acceptable anymore. And they're going to get away with it less and less and less and less. I've seen figure after figure after figure that they're releasing female-wise that I'm like, that's fine, I don't need it. I don't need it. If you are unwilling to give me what it should be, I don't even want it. Like, and of course now with all the prices going up and things being the way they are, that's going to happen a lot more. A lot more. We are getting choosier. And they're either going to have to produce solid figures to get the money, or some of these lines are going to start suffering because we don't have the money to buy crap now. Like, we're at the point now where if we're already going to spend like $50 a figure anyway, they better be good. That's where we are now. It's unavoidable. That's where we are now. So, let me reach in. Let me get one more storage for the show before we kick out of here. I've got a little bit after 8 tonight. It's just the way that it is for right now. I'm getting back in, like, I'm still kind of recovering. I've got a little bit of sinus problems here, as you could tell. And, of course, I'm still kind of dealing with, we're trying to figure out with Christmas and the holidays and everything and running around and everything. If you remember, we used to kick off Fandom Night and we used to stop the show around this point in time. And we'd be like, hey, we're not going to be here for like the end of the end of the month and then all through the next month. And we used to do that because this is where things start to get a little crazy. And it's kind of happening because my wife has madrigal and singing and caroling and things like that she does all around this point in the year. And it's a lot of traveling and practicing and figuring stuff out. So that complicates this. But so far the Monday is working. And we'll get more time as we go into this and whatnot, especially once I am fully recovered. We shouldn't have a problem coming in here, hopefully like 6 to 9 and do 3-hour shows. But we'll see. And of course, it all depends on the level of fan interaction and how many people actually come in to see the show and things like that and stick around with us. We'll see as we go. That's the nature of it. Let's check out something, shall we? I'm going to reach in here, going for something that I don't know. Oh my gosh. That's interesting. That is one of the bad guys from I'm not going to claim to remember what the show. This is Super Mega Force, I think, in America, anyways. This figure's not great. It's fine at best. Why do I have this? Because you know I'm not a huge Power Ranger collector. This is left over from a set that I bought my kid when she was very young. Like, when this show was on the air, they released a pack. I think we still had a Toys R Us at the time. And that Toys R Us had this bad guy and all the Rangers in like one pack. And they were all this kind of very simple figure. They had like the legs that kind of went out a bit. And they of course went up. They had the 90 degree. They had the 90 degree. And then they had, of course, basically you could T-pose and whatnot. And the head moved enough. They were passable figures at best. And at the time, my kid was watching Power Rangers. I was reviewing a lot of Power Rangers stuff, and we were talking about it all the time on things like the Sentai Review. And because of that, she was watching Rangers. So I thought that this was a good idea. I thought this would be a solid buy. So I bought this. I got her an entire set of Rangers and a bad guy. Let her play her own Ranger game, right? No. This right here never got played with. It wound up in my storage boxes almost immediately. See, this went into a room along with the other Rangers, and it went into a toy box, and it disappeared. Why? Because the same year that I got her these, she got a dinosaur thing, like a dragon. And the dragon had a mouth that opened and closed. And instead of playing with Rangers, she walked this dragon all around the house. It was cool. It was a dragon. It would, like, its wings would, like, flap up or whatever, and you could pull this little thing, and the wings would go up, and its mouth would open, and then it would, like, mouth would close, and the wings would go back down. It was cool. It started cool. See, because this guy went in the box and was forgot about. And then the dragon became somewhat of a favorite toy for a little while, and it was traveling all over the place, and before you knew it, it was eating donuts. And it would eat donuts. And then I would not realize that it had ate donuts. And then I would find that toy sitting in the kitchen, like a day or two later, with old crusty donut in its mouth. And I'd be like, oh, what the? I'd have to, like, take care of that. So I'd have to clean that stupid toy. And then, you know, be like, don't do that. You can't do that. Yeah. And then before I knew it, she would, be drinking soda. And then, of course, the dragon would want some soda. And then before I knew it, sticky dragon. You clean the dragon. That dragon did not survive. Like, it did not survive. Ended up having to get rid of it. And yes, because the chat is mentioning it, this is exactly what happened as well with one of my big Godzillas. The only difference here is that I had a big Godzilla, and she would feed it donuts and, like, food. But see, that Godzilla was my Godzilla, and it would sit out in my collection space in front of the TV, and I would notice immediately that I'd be like, what is that? Damn it! And I'd have to go over and, like, address it and clean it. Fix it. I could do that. I could fix it. I couldn't do that with everything, though. See? Sometimes a dragon, which would sit mostly in her room, would go 2, 3, 4 days, and then I would realize that it also had McDonald's. We had to get rid of that dragon. Like, we got rid of that dragon. That was a learning experience about toys with kids, and my kid in particular, is that, they needed all the things that she needed. And it was another learning experience to figure out that it didn't matter if I gave her all the parts she needed for, like, a storyline. Like, I needed all 4 turtles plus Splinter and a Shredder and a Foot Soldier, and I was just playing turtles all the time, right? And I thought if I got her all the Rangers and a bad guy, she would play Rangers. It didn't happen. It did not happen. My kid never really got serious into toys. She likes and liked things like Legos. But strangely enough, she would build the set and then, like, put it to the side. She liked to build it, not to play with it. She was mostly interested in, like, she would like things like, of course, video games. She would like things like maybe a truck, something like that. She liked, like, the food toys, like where, like, you have the kitchen and things like that. You play with the kitchen. She liked that stuff. She liked to go outside and, like, have a sword or something like that. But she never really got into figures. Really ever. She likes stuffed animals and has liked stuffed animals for years. And she likes things like little things like Beanie Babies or something like that. She likes stuff like that, plushies and stuff. But has no real interest in any kind of figures. Never liked Barbies, was never into anything like that. It was very hit and miss trying to figure out what my kid would play with and what she wouldn't play with. She did like to be active. I get it. I did too. But she never really got into action figures. And this is one of those things, very much something that reminds me of that. It didn't matter how many figures I bought. I bought her like a giant Megazord. Never really got played with. I bought her Rangers that never really got played with. I bought her just different things like that. I bought her an Ash Ketchum figure once. I remember it was like a figure. It just went in the toy box basically immediately. Just, that's really cool. And she went to play with the giant stuffed Piplup in her room, and like throw the Pokeball and stuff like that. She was more about role playing, if you want to be serious. She liked to play video games. She liked to role play by herself. She liked to go outside and play with toys. That's the kind of kid she was. And like for me, when I grew up, and I think this is very much a, I don't know if you would call it like a loneliness factor. I spent a lot of time by myself. I would go back and forth, go see my mom, go see my dad. I separated parents and whatnot. And sometimes I'd go off and see my grandma. Because like it was weird. I would see my mom, I would see my dad, I would see my grandma, but like not all of them. You know what I mean? Not all at the same time. And so I was bouncing back and forth a lot. And I had friends, of course, because we've talked about, we used to play guys and whatnot. But I spent a lot of time in toys because that was what I had. It was very regular for me to go to a place and I'd bring my toys with me, my action figures, my Turtles, my Batman, my stuff like that. And I would create storylines and things like that. I would do things like I would take G.I. Joes and I would claim that my bed was a space station. And then like I would use the outside or whatever, or like that was a big ship or something. And then I would do things like that. Like there's the old figure we talked about in just not way too long ago. I played with my figures a lot. And I think that's part of why I enjoy them the way that I do even today. But like not necessarily like my kid never had that same thing. Even when I would play with her, like sometimes she would like take the amiibos or whatnot. She'd be like, I want to play the amiibos. And I'm like, okay. And she'd probably play for like, I don't know, 6-7 minutes. Then be like, okay, that was fun. She'd move on. She's done. Yeah. That is a toy memory from the storage bin. That's where this guy came from. And that's what it makes me remember. Yeah, exactly. We'll be looking at a Hasbro peg warmer graveyard if they keep this up. If I'm paying that kind of money, I want my money's worth, period. Been enjoying the Monday shows. Well, that's good. This could stay a Monday thing and see how it catches on and how people like come about and whatnot. And I definitely do need to have a set day because a set day actually helps people find the show and want to be a part of it. And this show very much needs that if it's going to work because, it's a voting show. Hello, Bill. Got a decent stack of Blu-rays. Star Trek Discovery being the first Star Trek show in the collection. Arrow, Season 3. Dragon Ball Z, Season 2. Ranking Base. Holiday Collection. And 3 films. I don't know what that Ranking Base is. But that's cool. Glad to hear that. And, it's getting a lot easier to, like, build DVD and Blu-ray collections right now. Absolutely. It's just a very much more accessible hobby, especially since really their prices are kind of coming down as things go. It's interesting. As kids, we did very funny and hilarious stuff when we were young, thinking about it now. Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, absolutely. Strangely enough, I told Gwen there's one Batman figure if I could get it, I would like it. I don't know what my chance of ever finding this is, especially like in package and at a price that I would pay. But I had a favorite Batman when I was growing up. I had a Bruce Wayne figure, which was supposed to be Michael Keaton, and he came with clip-on parts that made him Batman. Strangely enough, I think about that figure sometimes. I would love to have that. I don't even know why. It just sits in my memory that specific figure is something I would love to have back in my collection. Just like when we talked about when I put him back in my collection and he was literally my favorite Joe of all time. There are certain things that hit very specific. He's one of them. He's not leaving my desk. Like, having him back is unreal. Like, it's crazy to me. This was my favorite Joe of all time. Every now and then we have those figures that we don't have left over from our childhood. And we think about them. We think about all the time that we used to play with them. And we think about, like, how that specific figure would be really cool to have again. I don't have a lot of those. I'll be honest with you. I played with my turtles. I have all 4 turtles. I have them, and I'm happy. I have no reason to hunt any further than that. Like, sure, I had other figures. But you know how many times I've had the chance to buy Slash, and I've just been like, eh. I'll admit, I would love to get a really solid, good Usagi Yojimbo on the shelf. That would be absolute peak. I would love that. He was my favorite. Like, of all the Ninja Turtles I had an Usagi Yojimbo. And I didn't even know that he was his own thing. I thought he was something Ninja Turtles. But I loved that figure. He was like my favorite turtle. I used him all the time. I would love to put one of those on the shelf. I found one that was almost complete, but his armor on his leg was busted off, and I did not buy him. If I was to go out of my way to get an Usagi Yojimbo, either classic or a very good new one on the shelf, I'd be happy. That's one thing I think about. And I also think about, like I said, there's very much that Batman that I don't know what it was, but it would be really cool to have again. Some of these old figures, every now and then they hit me like, whatever happened to that? But I don't have a lot of them. I noticed that. And I think that's kind of where, like, sometimes I'm not an echo chamber, I guess. Like, some people very much want me to like something that they like. Like, and they get mad if I don't like those toys that they grew up with or whatever. But I don't have a lot of toys like that. That, like, I remember from my childhood that, like, never left my mind. Most figures were just figures. I just played with them. And then moved on with my life. And not that I didn't really love them, but it was more about the play and the storylines that I was creating than the toy itself. But every now and then there are certain toys that just I never forget. And there are still some that I would absolutely love to have again. It would be interesting. It would be interesting to come up with a list of, like, some of those figures in particular. It really would. Hey, Bill, sent something for you to look at on the gram. Oh, cool. And by the way, just so you're aware, yes, I am on Instagram, and it's where I spend most of my time in terms of, like, social media stuff. I have a Facebook. I'm almost never there. I made a Facebook group page specifically for this. And then, like, it only, like, garnered, like, 40-something followers, and they don't really talk on there, so I'm never on there. And so I'm mainly on Instagram. So if you're interested in seeing, like, I take pictures and things like that and talk about things, and sometimes I post videos and whatnot. But yeah, I'm on there. If you ever want to, like, direct message and ask me something and something like that, talk to me. Ranking base is Rudolph's stop motion short. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Rankin Bass did the animated Hobbit films back in the 70s. I also Naruto game for the PS3. I know nothing about Naruto. That's fine. You don't need to know anything about Naruto. Just enjoy your game. Who knows? Maybe it'll open a whole new window for you. Maybe you'll leave it in an exact space where you're currently at right now. Batman movie, Bruce Wayne, quick change suit figure, DC Kenner, 1990. That may have very well been exactly what it was. HBO Max has been removing DC films and shows from their service. They aren't streaming anywhere else. Yeah, it is happening. You're right. It reminds me the Street Sharks hand puppet I had, the same one Vin Diesel was playing with at the toy convention. It was my favorite, but I miss it from time to time. Right, $60 on eBay. I mean, that's a lot. But every now and then, I really do think about that figure. I wonder if it's the one that... Because there were 2 different ones specifically. And I had both of them. Heck, I'd like to have both of them again. I don't know. That being said, I still own the very first Megazord from the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers that my dad bought. That's cool. That's legit cool. All right, guys. It's in box, brand new. I really will look at it. If you've sent it to me, I'll check it out. Thank you for that. Because who knows? Maybe I very well will get it. Because I don't know. Like, there's certain toys that, like, just hit, man. They never leave my memory. I remember them. Like, they're just ingrained in a way that, like, it never goes away. They're far and few between. Like, I've seen people where, like, they just have toys and toys and toys and toys and toys in their toy room, and it's all like, oh, yeah, I grew up with all of this stuff. And, like, I'm not that guy, per se. Yeah, there's a story and an idea behind every single figure that I buy. I talk about that. But, like, in terms of a hardcore, in-depth, this was my toy, I normally don't really have that memory. It's very far and few between the toys that, like, stick in my memory and make me go, I wish I still had that. It would be interesting. I really do. I feel like I should work on a list and see if I can make a video specifically talking about, maybe I could even call the video, I wish I still had that. I'll bet you there's a couple toys I could talk about. Anyways, guys, thanks for hanging out with me. I am going to get out of here. I've got a couple things going on, like I said, and it's already about 8:20. But hopefully these can become a standard where we start coming in at about 6 and stay till 9. And if we make that like a streaming idea, then people will come in and vote. We'll keep things running and everything like that. And of course, there's always topics. Bring your topics and we will discuss them. As you've seen, it just depends on how much I have to say about whatever topic. I appreciate you guys. I'm going to get out of here. Take it easy. And I will see you next Monday. Aside from, of course, the chapter videos that will be going up through the week.